What if hell was not a chaotic abyss, but a kingdom ruled by 7 crowned princes, each commanding a sin that tempts humanity? In the shadowed annals of demonology, from medieval grimoires to ancient scriptures, 7 names emerge as the lords of infernal temptation: Lucifer, Mammon, Asmodeus, Leviathan, Beelzebub, Satan, and Belphegor. These are not mere monsters, but complex figures woven into the fabric of theology, folklore, and culture, embodying the deadly sins that have haunted mankind for centuries. Where did these demons come from, and why do their names still echo in our stories? If you're fascinated by the dark mysteries of demonology, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and tap the bell below to never miss another chilling tale. What if the devils we dread are not monsters lurking in some fiery abyss, but the shadows of our own flaws, given names and crowned in hell? In the bitter winter of 1587, in a windswept Italian monastery clinging to jagged cliffs, a young monk named Brother Matteo slipped into a forbidden archive, his candle trembling in the dark. There, hidden behind dust-choked shelves, he found a leather-bound tome, its pages brittle and scrawled with secrets, a text claiming to unveil the hierarchy of hell. It named 7 princes: Lucifer, Mammon, Asmodeus, Leviathan, Beelzebub, Satan, and Belphegor, each bound to a deadly sin. Their stories woven from ancient myths, sacred scriptures, and whispered fears. Matteo's discovery, though buried by the church, was not alone. For centuries, scholars, priests, and mystics have chased these demons' truths, piecing together their tales from crumbling scrolls, forbidden grimoires, and the eerie lore of forgotten tribes. Let us unravel the history and meaning of these 7 princes, tracing their roots through time and exploring why their names still haunt our dreams. The idea of hell's rulers took shape in the Middle Ages, a time when fear of the supernatural gripped Europe's heart. Villages huddled under stormy skies, whispering of demons who tempted souls to ruin. Demonology, the study of these dark spirits, grew strong, pulling from Jewish tales of fallen angels, Christian warnings of sin, and pagan gods recast as devils. By the 16th century, a German cleric named Peter Binsfeld gave the 7 princes their infamous roles, tying each to a sin: pride for Lucifer, greed for Mammon, lust for Asmodeus, envy for Leviathan, gluttony for Beelzebub, wrath for Satan, and sloth for Belphegor. These sins, first named by early Christian monks like Evagrius Ponticus in the 4th century, were seen as the cracks in human goodness, and the princes became their twisted champions. But their story stretches far beyond medieval churches, reaching back to the dawn of human fear. In ancient Mesopotamia, demons like Lamashtu prowled the night, stealing breath from sleeping babes, while Egyptian myths spoke of serpent gods sowing chaos. These early terrors laid the stones for hell's throne, their echoes carried into Jewish texts like the Book of Enoch, where angels fell for earthly desires, and into Christian warnings of a war between light and dark. The 7 princes, born from these ancient roots, grew into symbols of the sins we all face: a pride that lifts us too high, greed that blinds us to others, or anger that burns us from within. Lucifer, Prince of Pride, is perhaps the most infamous. His name, meaning light bearer in Latin, comes from a passage in Isaiah 14:12. "How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning?" Early Christian scholars interpreted this as the fall of Satan, a radiant angel whose pride led him to rebel against God. In Jewish tradition, the passage referred to a Babylonian king, but by the 4th century, figures like Origen and Jerome cemented Lucifer's identity as a fallen angel. Medieval texts like the Lantern of Light, 1409, described him as hell's emperor, a dazzling yet tyrannical lord who tempts men with arrogance. Lucifer appears in Dante's Inferno, 1320, frozen in hell's deepest circle, and in Milton's Paradise Lost, 1667, where he is a tragic rebel, declaring, "Better to reign in hell than serve in heaven." His pride mirrors humanity's desire to rival the divine, from ancient Promethean myths to modern tales of hubris. Today, Lucifer is a cultural icon, from Gothic literature to TV series, embodying both rebellion and doomed ambition. Mammon, Prince of Greed, reigns over the burning hunger for wealth, his name a curse whispered in markets and manners alike. Derived from the Aramaic mamona, meaning riches, it appears in the New Testament, Matthew 6:24. You cannot serve God and mammon. Early Christians saw mammon not just as money, but as a demon luring souls to betrayal. By the Middle Ages, texts like Colin de Plancy's Dictionnaire Infernal, 1818, crowned him a prince of hell, a gaunt figure with glittering eyes, his bony hands clutching gold that turns hearts to stone. In medieval Europe, Mammon's shadow fell over the rise of usurer lending money for profit, which the church condemned as sinful. Reformers like John Wycliffe railed against corrupt clergy, their lavish robes and gilded chalices seen as Mammon's work. Folklore tells of merchants who, swayed by his whispers, betrayed kin for gold, like a 14th century Venetian trader who sold his brother's ship for profit, only to vanish, his soul claimed by Mammon's infernal vaults. In the 12th century, tales from Damascus spoke of a bazaar where Mammon appeared as a golden phantom, promising riches that led to ruin. His power is subtle, a voice murmuring more in the quiet of the night, as old as the first coin and as timeless as human desire. During the Renaissance, his influence was blamed for the greed of merchant guilds, whose monopolies starved villages. In the 19th century, Mammon became a symbol of unchecked capitalism, embodied in the robber barons who built empires while workers toiled in squalor. Today, he haunts dystopian stories films like Wall Street, or novels like The Wolf of Wall Street, where corporate greed mirrors his ancient temptation. From medieval markets to modern skyscrapers, Mammon's lure is the same, a promise of everything, at the cost of your soul. Asmodeus, Prince of Lust, is a demon of fiery passion, weaving desires that burn through virtue like flames through dry grass. His roots trace to the Persian demon Eshma, a spirit of rage, but in Jewish texts like the Book of Tobit, 3rd century BCE, Asmodeus is a lustful fiend who slays the husbands of Sarah, driven by jealous desire. Christian demonologists like Peter Binsfeld recast him as Hell's Lord of Lust, depicting him in the Grimorium Verum, 1517, as a three-headed beast bull, man, and Ramis' eyes smoldering with forbidden allure. In 15th century France, Asmodeus was blamed for scandals that tore villages apart, like a Loire Valley tale of a knight and a noblewoman whose secret affair ended in murder, their madness attributed to his whispers. The church warned that Asmodeus could slip into minds through lustful thoughts, a fear that fueled witch hunts, where women were accused of bedding demons under his spell. In medieval convents, whispered tales of nuns dreaming of a shadowy lover pointed to Asmodeus, their confessions sparking trials that shook the church. His influence stretched to royal courts, where forbidden romances, like that of a 16th century Spanish duchess exiled for her passions, were said to bear his mark. By the Romantic era, Asmodeus transformed in literature, becoming a seductive antihero in works like Anatole France's Thais, 1890, where his charm lures a monk from faith. Today, he lingers in horror films like the Conjuring series, where demonic seduction haunts families, and in fantasy games like Dungeons, Dragons, where his name evokes desire's destructive edge. Asmodeus endures because he mirrors our hidden longings, his fire burning where love and obsession blur, tempting us to cross lines we cannot uncross. Leviathan, Prince of Envy, is a serpentine demon slithering through the depths, its coils tightening around hearts to spark bitter resentment. Its name comes from the Hebrew Leviathan, a monstrous sea creature in Job 41, a symbol of chaos tamed only by God's might. In early Jewish texts like the Talmud, Leviathan is a beast of divine creation, a vast serpent destined to be slain at the world's end. But Christian demonologists like Peter Binsfeld reshaped it into the Prince of Envy. Medieval grimoires, such as Johannes Weir's Pseudomonarchia Daemonum, 1577, paint Leviathan as a gaping maw, its eyes burning with jealousy for God's glory, whispering discord to mortals. During the Crusades, tales spread of knights consumed by envy, like a 12th century warrior in Jerusalem who betrayed his lord for a rival's title, his treachery blamed on Leviathan's hiss. In Renaissance courts, its influence festered in rivalries. Think of Italian scholars poisoning each other's wine to steal academic praise, or artists like Michelangelo clashing over patrons' favor, their feuds tied to Leviathan's curse. Leviathan's power lies in comparison, making people see only what they don't have, whether it's wealth, love, or fame. In 14th century England, a monk's chronicle blamed Leviathan for a village feud where farmers burned each other's crops over land disputes, driven by jealous rage. Even today, Leviathan's shadow looms in social media's endless scroll, where envy festers over others' perfect lives. Modern stories, from H.P. Lovecraft's cosmic horrors to films like The Abyss, cast Leviathan as a force of insatiable longing, its watery depths a metaphor for desires that drown us. From ancient seas to our restless hearts, Leviathan thrives where we yearn for what isn't ours. Beelzebub, prince of gluttony, is a grotesque lord of excess, his bloated form buzzing with swarms of flies. His name, meaning Lord of the Flies in Hebrew, first appears in 2 Kings 1:2 as Baal, Zebub, a Philistine god mocked by Israelites. In the New Testament, Matthew 12:24, he's called the Prince of Demons, and by the Middle Ages, demonologists like Binsfeld linked him to gluttony. Colin de Plancy's Dictionnaire Infernal, 1818, depicts him as a swollen figure, his breath reeking of decay, tempting mortals to gorge on food, drink, or power until they choke. Medieval tales warned of nobles under Beelzebub's sway, like a 13th century French lord who feasted while his tenants starved, only to die mid-banquet, his ghost haunting his castle as a wraith. During the Black Death, his influence was blamed for lavish feasts in plague-ravaged towns, where the wealthy defied Christian charity, eating while bodies piled in the streets. In 15th century Flanders, a baker's guild was accused of hoarding grain for profit, their greed tied to Beelzebub's hunger. His role in demonology mirrors humanity's fight with overindulgence, from ancient harvest feasts where tribes gorge to honor gods, to modern critiques of consumerism, like Black Friday stampedes or overflowing landfills. Beelzebub's fly-ridden image, a symbol of rot, persists in horror. Think of The Fly, or The Exorcist, where decay and excess haunt the screen. In folklore, a Syrian tale tells of a merchant who ate until his belly burst, his soul claimed by flies that buzzed his name. Beelzebub endures because he feeds on our urge to take too much, his whispers loudest when we crave beyond need. Satan, Prince of Wrath, is a raging inferno, inciting violence and vengeance. Unlike Lucifer, Satan is less a specific entity than a title adversary, in Hebrew used in Job 1:6 to describe a divine accuser. Christian tradition, including texts like Revelation 12:9, merge Satan with the devil, and Binsfeld cast him as the Lord of Wrath. Depicted as a warrior in blood-red armor in grimoires like the Ars Goetia, 17th century, Satan fuels hatred and war. In the Middle Ages, he was blamed for heresies and crusades, where brother turned against brother. The 16th century wars of religion, pitting Catholic against Protestant, were seen as his handiwork, with chronicles describing battlefields as Satan's playground. His wrath mirrors humanity's darkest impulses, from ancient blood feuds to modern ideologies of vengeance. In culture, Satan is both a terrifying force and a misunderstood anti-hero, as in Goethe's Faust, 1808. Belphegor, Prince of Sloth, is a deceptively gentle demon, lulling men into apathy. His origins are obscure, possibly linked to the Moabite god Baal-peor in Numbers 25, associated with licentious rites. By the Middle Ages, demonologists like Weir and Binsfeld made Belphegor the Lord of Sloth, depicted in the Dictionnaire Infernal as a lounging figure on a throne of filth. He tempts with excuses, convincing men to neglect duty and faith. Medieval stories told of monks who abandoned their vows or villages that fell to ruin under Belphegor's spell. In the Renaissance, his influence was seen in the despair of plague survivors who lost hope. Belphegor's power is in inertia, whispering that effort is futile. Modern portrayals, from fantasy novels to psychological horror, cast him as a symbol of existential dread, the quiet killer of ambition. These 7 princes of hell, Lucifer, Mammon, Asmodeus, Leviathan, Beelzebub, Satan, and Belphegor, were not conjured in a single flash of divine wrath but forged over centuries. Their tales molded by the fears, faiths, and flaws of countless cultures. In ancient Mesopotamia, terrors like Lamashtu, a demoness who stole infants under moonless skies, whispered of a world where evil had form, laying the groundwork for later infernal hierarchies. Jewish texts, such as the Book of Enoch from the 12th century BCE, spoke of fallen angels who defied God, their rebellion echoing in Christian demonology. By the 4th century, church fathers like Augustine painted demons as cunning deceivers, twisting human hearts against God's order. The Middle Ages birthed a flood of demonological writings grimoires like the Malleus Maleficarum, 1486, a witch hunter's manual, and the Clavicula Salomonis, which mapped hell's courts with chilling precision. These texts named the princes as lords of sin, their sigils etched in forbidden books hidden in monastery vaults. Yet the Renaissance stirred doubt, with thinkers like Erasmus mocking tales of demons as relics of a darker age, even as witch hunts raged, accusing innocents of dancing with Leviathan under starlit groves. The seven princes were more than theological shadows, they were weapons of control, wielded by a church desperate to guide a trembling world. By linking pride to Lucifer's fall or lust to Asmodeus's whispers, preachers made evil feel real, a lurking threat in every heart. During the Reformation, Catholics and Protestants hurled accusations of serving Satan, each side seeing Mammon's greed in the other's gold-crusted altars. In the 1692 Salem witch trials, fear of Beelzebub's pacts turned neighbors into enemies, with whispered confessions fueling mass panic under a cold New England sky. Exorcisms, guided by the Ritual Romanum, 1614, invoked the princes' names to banish demons, their syllables echoing in candlelit chapels where the possessed writhed. These rituals didn't just fight evil, they cemented the princes as real, their power etched into the minds of the faithful. But not everyone believed. The Enlightenment brought a cold wind of reason, with philosophers like Voltaire scoffing at demons as fairy tales for the gullible. They saw the princes as metaphors, Lucifer for ambition, Belphegor for laziness, not horned fiends but human weaknesses dressed in myth. Doctors began to explain possession as illness, calling sloth melancholia, or lust hysteria, stripping the princes of their claws. Yet belief clung on, stubborn as embers in ash. The princes slipped into art and stories, their menace reborn. Romantic poets like Lord Byron cast Lucifer as a brooding hero, defying heaven with a poet's fire. Gothic novels like The Monk, 1796, revived Asmodeus as a tempter, his whispers luring monks to ruin. By the 20th century, films like The Exorcist, 1973, and Rosemary's Baby, 1968, dragged Beelzebub and Satan into modern nightmares, their ancient terror flickering on silver screens, blending fear with a strange allure. What does it mean that we name the darkness within us? The seven princes are not dusty relics of a superstitious past, they are mirrors, reflecting humanity's endless wrestle with its own sins. In medieval times, they were real, their names scratched into grimoires and banished with trembling prayers in torchlit rituals. Today, they live as symbols: Lucifer, the rebel who dares too much; Mammon, the tycoon chasing gold; Asmodeus, the seducer weaving forbidden dreams. Each prince holds a piece of use pride in our victories, greed for a better tomorrow, wrath at a world unfair. Their stories, stretching from Sumer's clay tablets to Hollywood's blockbusters, show how we face the shadows in our souls, naming them to tame them. They linger because they are us, their power born not in hell's flames but in the quiet moments we falter. In 1587, a monk uncovered a forbidden text naming these princes, its pages heavy with secrets. He burned it, fearing its truths, but its warnings haunted him. In a hidden journal, found centuries later amid crumbling abbey stones, he wrote words that still chill. The princes are not just in hell, but in us, waiting for our weakness to give them form. His plea cuts through time, demanding we face a question that burns like a candle in the dark. Are these demons real, stalking us from some fiery abyss? Or are they born in our hearts, shaped by our fears, desires, and failures? The seven princes: Lucifer's soaring pride, Mammon's clutching greed, Asmodeus's burning lust, Leviathan's gnawing envy, Beelzebub's endless hunger, Satan's blazing wrath, Belphegor's heavy slother, not far off terrors but shadows at our side, whispering when we doubt or dream. They endure because they are our story, their thrones built not in brimstone but in the choices we make each day. What do they show you? Is it the spark of ambition that lights your path, The hunger for more that drives you, or the weight of giving up that pulls you down? We challenge you to look into that shadowed mirror, to face the prince's gaze, and to wonder what truths they whisper about your own soul.